Faster than writing to a letter forum. More thoughtful than angry clickbait. Able to discuss the world's first superhero and comics, film, TV, and more. It's the Supermaniacs, and we have some super big news to talk about. James Gunn has just announced the sequel to Superman, Man of Tomorrow. We got a release date. We know at least 3, maybe 4 of the actors returning. But there's just enough there for us to speculate and react to this big news. I'm Fatheree. This is Mike. Mike, how's it going?
It's going well. It's been an interesting time because we're finding out more and more about that one that Superman did very well, more than even we knew, to be honest. And then with the Man of Tomorrow announcement, it's interesting because of the fact that it's going to be the first time in a long time that we've had a direct Superman sequel. As much as he's been saying it's not Superman 2, and so, but he keeps saying that. I'm like, that sounds more like you're just not trying to commit to a trilogy type of thing. But even though the name is clearly Superman related itself.
Right, yeah, it's basically Man of Steel was taken, so we're going with Man of Tomorrow.
Yeah, it's like, and I know like a lot of people are disappointed in the fact that he's not like admitting that he's like, well, this is Superman 2. But it is just Superman 2. I know he keeps saying it's not, but honestly, come on, James. Like, you can't call something Man of Tomorrow and not make it just super. It doesn't make it not Superman 2.
Right.
It just makes it not called Superman 2, unless he's being cheeky about it. Do you think you feel like he might be being cheeky about it?
I mean, The Dark Knight is technically not Batman Begins 2, but I mean
exactly.
But it is. So
yeah, it's not like Batman and Robin isn't called Batman 4. It's not how it works.
Yeah, and James Gunn actually, I remember him mentioning a while back that he's not a fan of these superhero movies that are like, it's the name of the character, then something else. You're like Captain America, Winter Soldier, or, Thor, The Dark World, or whatever. He says he doesn't like that naming convention. Like his Guardians of the Galaxy movies, I guess they kind of had their own thing at Marvel because they were just like Volume 2, Volume 3, and we retroactively call the first one Volume 1.
I think that's his way of doing it without doing it at the same time, because he's not calling it 1, 2, and 3. He's calling it, well, this is Volume 2. He's in his mind, they're one giant story, which is the reason why I think that works. Because whenever you read an on-running manga, it's not, Dragon Ball 1, Dragon Ball 2, Dragon Ball 3. It's Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, up to, 26. So that makes sense. So, in his head, all of 3 Guardians is one big story. And I bet you that's the reason he's not calling Superman 2, because he's like, look, it's not just Superman 2. It's just another story in this long... Because in his head, it's the way comic books work, where it's like, sure, Superman's one story, but that might just be the name of that story. It could be another story called Our World's at War, and then that's the name of that story.
Yeah, I think the way he's looking at it, it's almost more of like say the James Bond character has all these different movies, but they're not called like James Bond 1, James Bond 2, James Bond 3. I guess they would be like Dr. No number 24, if they were doing that. So
yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Although you get a title that just relates to that story, kind of like originally the Superman movie was going to be called Superman Legacy, and then they dropped the Legacy. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow is just Supergirl now.
And there are other directors that have made their own stories where they hate that's been forced on them. A good example of that is the Knives Out series, where before he wanted to be Knives Out, Glass Onion by itself, but Netflix is like, well, no one. It's got to be called Glass Onion and Knives Out story because we got to tie these together. And he's like,
it has to be a franchise. Yeah,
I wanted it to be like the way a series of mystery books are, like where it's like one specific character, but every title is a different book essentially. Because it's not like you read what is it, Agatha Christie, and it just says the name of not Agatha Christie, Hercule Poirot. It's not like it's not like every book says Hercule Poirot in da 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 da, or or it's not called Death on the Nile, whatever, I forget, a Murder Express story, I think was the name of it. Like it was not called that. Like it's just Death on the Nile, next one, next one, next
Murder
one.
on the Orient Express. And
that's if you
so on and
imagine
so
Death on the Nile called Death on the Nile, a Murder on the Orient Express story.
Yeah,
it wouldn't make any sense. You're like, that's stupid. But that's what's forced on Rian Johnson, and James Gunn doesn't want to do that to himself. I think is really what's coming down to it.
but I think this, when he was saying like I wouldn't exactly call it a Superman movie, it's more of like dealing with, like a group of characters from that first movie. And when I heard that, my mind went like one of two places. It's like, okay, they're either going to do like a Justice League kind of Justice League International, a bit more like kind of funny, lighthearted, bring in the Maxwell Lord stuff from the comics, and maybe get like Martian Manhunter, maybe even Batman in there, maybe Fire and Ice, kind of like lean into that. So they already have like Guy Gardner, just get us like Booster Gold and Blue. Hey, we have a Blue Beetle in the DCU that James Gunn said survived the crossover to the new universe. So
that director really wanted it to be Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah, like he would have been a great Ted Kord. I mean, maybe someday that could still happen. Yeah,
he still would be a great Ted Kord, and like have him be the older one and have the young one at the same time. I would love that. I think that would be the greatest thing ever. No, honestly, my theory about it is it's a story about the battle for who is the Man of Tomorrow, which is between Superman and Lex. Like I feel like Lex is going to try to be like, no, I'm the Man of Tomorrow. Superman's bullshit still, even though he got arrested at the end of the last movie.
Yeah, the title could apply to either one. Yeah, I think that's what we're actually getting now, that I wouldn't even call it key art or promotional art, but I guess like the announcement art that they had from 3 different comic book artists, but basically they're all 3 kind of a variant of the same thing. You have Superman and Lex is in the power suit, the war suit, whatever you want to call it, but the green and purple space armor, he's got it on.
It was one of the reasons I was very excited about. It's the main reason I got excited about it, because usually when an announcement like this is usually done, it's at a Comic-Con. There's some giant fanfare about it, being like, look at the symbol we made, it's coming out this day. Somebody's like shaking their hands, super excited. Somebody's crying in the background, that type of thing. James was just like, I've got 3 guys who are very good Superman artists. I want all 3 of you to make whatever you want. And all it is, but it needs 2 things. Superman, my Superman, and Lex Luthor in power armor. But the second one is my favorite, because some of the artists are just like, yeah, I'll just draw Lex Luthor. Like some of the Lexes like vary in age, I feel, because like George Jimenez's Lex looks younger than Jim Lee's, who looks younger than I'm sorry, I forgot the third artist's name off the top of my head.
It's the guy, he did a lot of work with Tom King, right? I
think it's Mitch something.
Mitch Gerards?
Mitch Gerards, I think.
Gerards, is that how you say it?
I'm looking it up real quick, just to be sure we're saying that right. Yeah, it's Mitch Gerards. I'm saying Gerards just because I'm used to saying it that way. But his Lex looks a lot older, as does his Superman, to be honest. Like if this is the funny thing is, this is the order of what I love. I love Lex in George Jimenez's, and I love Superman in Jim Lee's more. Those are the 2 of my favorites, because George Jimenez is really good at drawing Superman, but his Superman still looks exactly like his Superman, if that makes sense. Whereas GM actually makes an actual Superman that looks a lot like David Corenswet, even in body shape. Where the Lex in George Jimenez looks much younger, and it feels more like the way Nicholas Holt's Lex looks like. Also, his outfit does look like something that would have been in the movie, because it reminds me of the Raptor's armor a lot more.
Yeah, it like looking at the Raptor armor in the movie, the Lex Luthor goons. It's like, okay, they designed it like that because this is like the proto Lex armor. This is going to be the predecessor of whatever the final product that he builds for himself.
Yeah, because there were Superman figures that have Lex wearing the Raptor outfit, but like with more of a green color, even more than the Raptor outfits normally had. If you recall, I remember seeing some at least. I don't remember if you. I remember us looking at it at one point.
Yeah, no, that sounds familiar. But it was cool how they made this announcement just, on social media. James Gunn's been real transparent on Threads, seems, and Instagram seem to be the platforms he's most active on. But he released the Jim Lee art on his platform, and then I think
Well, the whatchamacallit, the social media accounts of just Superman in general released like all three of them at once. So
Okay.
it wasn't just, it was like, in fact, the first one I saw, originally I just saw the Jim Lee one and the James Gunn announcement, and that was on Threads. That wasn't even like on Twitter or anything. And so that's the one I sent you originally, and then I went to Instagram, and they started with the George Jimenez one, and then when you swiped, it was the next one, and then you swiped, it was the next one, and then eventually the Superman Threads account had all three of them, and so that's how I saved them all and then sent them at one point. So I was very excited because it seems on a united front. This is how he announces it. This is such a comic book way of announcing something.
Yes. Yeah, that's
Because
what I love about it. Because you're using those guys, you're using the comic book guys to spread the word.
Yeah, because as I mentioned, every other announcement in the DC, and not just DC, but the MCU in general is real bad about this, is that they always wait till Comic-Con, Hall H, they have everybody doing a panel, just being like, hey, it was great working on this movie or whatever. And then he's like, I have an announcement to make. And then there's, the screen goes black. And it's like Superman 2 or whatever. And it's like a single symbol. Everybody's clapping. There's nothing else. They don't even have a date. They don't have jack shit. They're just like, yeah, movie's happening. Like, it's like it got less exciting because the more it happened, the more often would get delayed and nothing would happen with it. You know what I mean? But James Gunn is smart enough to be like, look, I'm going to announce the movie with zero fanfare. It's going to happen at random. And I'm going to have images to go with it from some of the greatest the current Superman artists at the moment. And everything. And it says everything you need to know about this movie without saying anything, which is that Lex is going to fucking suit up. Because there's no other reason for him to give the okay for Lex to be dressed like that. Because anybody else would have been coy about it. It would have been Superman and Lex standing next to it, and Lex would have been wearing his suit and tie or an orange jumpsuit or something to show, like, it's post him getting arrested. But James is like, no, we're going to watch these two motherfuckers finally fight.
Yeah.
And I think
never
that's
gotten
so much
that
more exciting.
I mean, to be honest, like, it doesn't happen in the comics too often. Normally Lex is not on the same power level as Superman, but it has happened, and I'm
It used to
very
happen more in
excited
the
to
Silver
see that.
Age, but that's because both people were very broken back then. Like they were both allowed to. The laws of physics were even more broken than they were either side. So whenever Lex does it in modern day, it was the rarest thing you've ever seen in your life, and one of the few times he does it that I can even recall, he had this gigantic fucking suit of armor, which is the one that's in the Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, and then the other times he wore it, it was like for Forever Evil. I haven't even seen him wear it since then. And then he had one that was like a Superman armor that he got from Apocalypse. Like a lot of it came down
The
to like
rebirth thing, yeah.
broken armors type of thing. And so him wearing armor is such a fucking wonderful thing to see, but it's so rare, which is why it's so fun that we finally going to see it happen on the screen. And we not only know we're going to see that, but James was willing to give a date right away.
Yeah,
that's huge.
July 9th. So
yeah, 2027. That's huge. And the reason I say that is because it's been a long time since not only a comic book movie was willing to like be adamant of what a day is, but it's been a long time since we've been given that, having something to show for it, and it being DC. because DC was really bad about just announcing random shit. We're like, we're gonna make Justice League 2 and Batman v Superman 89 or whatever, and
There's supposed to be a Cyborg movie at one point in
there's gonna
time.
be a Cyborg movie, and then an Aquaman 80, and then a Batman called the Batman. All these things are gonna happen, and then I'm gonna read the speech from The Dark Knight Returns to announce Batman v Superman.
That's a great point, though. But that BVS announcement from I guess that was Comic-Con in 2014, I guess.
Yeah, something like that. And yeah, it was 20. It was either 13 or 14. Either way, I remember I was at Sam's when I found out. I was working at Sam's. And I checked my phone and I got texts from friends because I didn't have a smartphone yet at this point. And they're like, dude, they're making a Superman Batman movie. I got excited because I just was curious. I just wanted a Superman Batman movie. I got less excited once I realized he was invoking The Dark Knight Returns.
Joel in the live audience is reminding us they did that Henry Cavill coming back announcement. And that was 3 weeks before they were like, oh, actually, James Gunn is in charge and he's going to reboot Superman. So
you remember all the rumors that Henry would show up at Comic-Con?
Yeah.
It was when Black Adam was coming out. They're like, "Oh, Henry's gonna be at Comic-Con," and The Rock was like, maybe Henry will be there. I don't know. Maybe he won't. Who knows?" That's how fucking annoying it was. Nobody was willing to confirm anything, no matter what. You couldn't confirm anything to save your life. You couldn't even confirm that they were making a Flash movie for a decade.
But yeah, then they were constantly having to find new directors for that Flash movie. Then it finally came out, and thank goodness they took their time and made such a great masterpiece that everyone loved so much. But
that movie took so long that a Flash TV show was announced, made, and finished by the time the movie came out.
You know what's the funny thing about that is the sequel to Watchmen in the comics, Doomsday Clock, took so long to come out that by the time Doomsday Clock finished, HBO did that entire Watchmen TV show that the last episode came out the week before the last issue of Doomsday Clock came out.
Yeah, and the people didn't like Doomsday Clock for a while because they didn't read the whole thing beginning to end.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, some people have changed their tune on it because I really liked it. I really liked it personally. But that's another good example.
I like it too.
And the funniest part was that it took so long to come out. The Kents were already confirmed alive in the comics for longer than Doomsday Clock was finished. It was so funny because the whole point of Doomsday Clock was Jeff Johns was going to return DC's status quo back to normal. Mm-hmm. It was no longer going to be the New 52, and Rebirth was in full force at this point. So by the time it was done, Rebirth, I think, was ending.
Yeah, it was we'd already moved on from Rebirth, and Dan DiDio was already ruining everything again. It's we got Wally back, but now we're gonna ruin him, and we'll have to repair him again in the future. And so yeah,
it was really funny. But no, yeah, the DC was terrible at it. They were always announcing things, not getting it finished, or they will announce something, finish it, it'd be terrible, or they'll announce something, it was not what they said it was going to be. And just back and forth, back and forth. So it's been a very long time since I've been hopeful for anything DC announced, period. And anytime, and even the MCU's been real bad about that. They were like, well, we're going to make all these other movies and all these other things, and then I don't feel like they did any of that stuff. They're like, we're going to do all the King the Conqueror stuff, and it's all confirmed how important King is to the Avengers and stuff. And it's yeah, no, that King Avengers movie would have been out by now if that was true. And so, even the Avengers Doomsday thing didn't have anything to show for it. It had Robert Downey Jr. and a bunch of people dressed in Doctor Doom Halloween costumes. It's not even like they were the Doctor Dooms. It's not like they came out and they had a really cool poster or something of all the heroes fighting Doctor Doom. I feel like if James Gunn was in charge of DC, that's what that photo would have been. It would have been Doctor Doom over a bunch of defeated Avengers or something, and that would have been his way of announcing it. And
Yeah.
so this is such a comic book fan way of announcing things.
Yeah, just get like one of your top artists. Like get some guy working at Marvel right now. Like I don't like John Romita Jr. has been there for years, or Stuart Immonen, or just like whoever. Just like yeah, you have like all these artists. Like use them. Like draw some cool shit to make your announcement.
Yeah, that's the thing that always bothers me about it is there's a lot of studios that involve superhero stuff are so up their own ass. They're like, well, we need a picture of the guy himself, like or people won't get excited, not realizing that comic book fans get excited if you give them the smallest little thing, and by that I don't mean like give them crumbs or whatever. No, I mean like give them something substantial. This isn't just a crumb. They gave us a tiny cupcake and went here. You'll get the rest later. Type of thing, and it's like such a wonderful moment because you're just like, oh, this is really cool. This is really cool. It's just a little sampler piece of cupcake, like not even those large ones, those real small ones, but you're getting like a really great flavor out of it because you're being told directly, this chocolate cake is gonna be fucking bomb if it tastes anything like the little thing I just gave you.
Yeah, I mean we have like a release date too, so it's like we're checked in at the restaurant waiting on our table, but we actually have like like an accurate, it's like, hey, your table's going to be ready in 30 minutes. Here's your little buzzer thing. But like we know when the buzzer is going to go off. We know that in 22 months we're going to get to go back to James Gunn's Metropolis on the big screen.
It's so exciting. And the fact that he's very very much like this isn't just a Superman 2. And we know that's probably means that the Justice Gang's probably going to be a part of it.
Yeah,
Lex is probably
hot
going to
girl. What's the hot girl actor? She's in The Last of Us and Alien Romulus and some other things.
Oh, you're saying the hot girl actress? I heard hot girl and I got confused.
Oh, well, she's hot too, but
she is. That's why I was like, well, there's a lot of hot women in this show or in this movie too. No, I don't remember the actress name off the top of my head.
Elizabeth Merced, I think.
Yes.
Or Mercedes, but
she's great. I love her.
Yeah, she's fantastic in everything. But she's
mostly fantastic in everything because if you've seen Madame Web, everybody's terrible in Madame Web.
Oh, I've not seen Madame Web.
She's in Madame Web. If anybody's curious.
Okay.
She plays Urania in Madame Web.
I keep forgetting that movie existed, but
as you should. So. No, yeah, so we're going to see everybody. I'm assuming we'll get more Metamorpho. We'll probably get more. I'm hoping we'll get more Metamorpho story-wise, is what I'm hoping to get out of that movie. And I'm curious, and maybe it'll be a story about the fact that now that Lex is arrested, Luthor Core is now no longer the big top dog in the city. So maybe also Man of Tomorrow is like, who's going to strive to be, the big top dog again, type of thing. Maybe that'll be added to the Maxwell Lord stuff. Maybe that'll bring Stag Industries in. Who knows? Type of thing. Like we know both of those companies are in Metropolis. So Luthor. There's a power vacuum with Luthor Core down. At least that's my assumption. So maybe it's time for Stag Industries to, come on in.
Well, let's do some theory crafting because I think it's safe to assume the movie will be a Lex and Superman team up, and I think that's why Gunn was adamant about like not calling it a Superman sequel. I think it might be more it's like a Superman and Lex movie, kind of like Deadpool and Wolverine. It's gonna be like Superman and Lex. It might have even been like a more accurate title to call it Men of Tomorrow instead of Man of Tomorrow. But that can definitely apply to the dude who is always kind of pushing humanity to evolve and grow and getting like the latest greatest technology and all of that. Like it would make sense for Lex to brand himself as the Man of Tomorrow.
He hates Superman so much that I could see him being like, fuck that guy, I'm the Man of Tomorrow.
Right. Yeah, I actually want to see like an interview between someone interviewing David Corenswet and Nicholas Hoult and asking them, so Man of Tomorrow, is that Superman or Lex, and have like the actors argue like why it applies to their character or not the other. I think it'd be cool to kind of push that rivalry / partnership. And again, it's something that would be kind of unique. I guess they've joined forces on occasion in the comics, but that's rarely the focus point of a story.
No, and most of the time when they team up, it's because whatever the villain is, they're either too smart for Superman or too strong for Lex, and which is the reason why they work so well together. Because Clark is very smart, but he's not Lex Luthor smart, or even Mr. Terrific, and he's not Mr. Terrific smart either. Because Mr. Terrific is usually smarter than Lex, depending on who's writing. And so, say for instance, maybe it's a Brainiac story, and maybe Brainiac's defeated the Justice Gang, so he needs Lex help, and maybe they already fought prior to that. He fought. Maybe Lex got out of prison or broke out of prison, fought Superman, was defeated, and then Brainiac attacks, and he needs Lex's help, and the government needs Lex's help, that sort of thing. Like, I'm very curious to really see. Maybe there's some stuff going on as well, because there's other reasons why I have some theories. Because before we started, I made sure that Steven watched the current Peacemaker season. It's not finished, of course. There's only like 3 episodes in, and the reason for that is just James Gunn has been very adamant that Peacemaker season 2, the story effects of it will affect other future projects, to the point where I think some people are saying that he might be saying it could even lead up into Man of Tomorrow. I don't know how true that is, because I've been seeing that quote a lot, but I've never been able to find the exact quote of him saying it.
So my theory on that, and Peacemaker season 2 has been great. I like the first 3 episodes were all amazing. I'm looking forward to I guess there's 5 more. I think it's going to be 8 total. Maybe
I
9.
think the last season was 8 or 9, so it might be very similar.
So here's what I'm thinking is that I think Lex will appear in Peacemaker season 2 before the end of the season. Gunn said a while back, he said one of the top 3 actors in Superman will be in Peacemaker season 2. So, Rachel Brosnahan, Nicholas Hoult, David Corenswet. There was that picture that just came out, I think today or yesterday, of David Corenswet in the Superman suit on set with John Cena.
Yeah, I think there was another image though where Rachel was there too.
But I think they were just visiting, because they shoot all that in Atlanta.
Yeah, because that episode's clearly the last episode that just aired. Because John is wearing the outfit that he's wearing in that episode. He's got the blood on him from what happens in that episode. And I think he was filming both of them at that point at the same time. And so it would make sense. And so it's probably all the soundstage stuff that involves like a lot of CG that they were probably doing at that point.
Yeah, it just they just had both projects in production at the same time that day or something.
Let me see if I can find it again, because there was another picture, because the one that keeps going around is the one of David with his hand around just John himself, or not John. It actually is John. Yeah, John Cena. I keep forgetting that's his real name because I keep thinking Peacemaker. That's not, and Peacemaker's name is Chris, so it's not even making any sense. Let me see if we can find the threads for it, because there was James Gunn was like, well, here's some quick behind the scenes, and everybody's just like, well, he's clearly not hiding that Superman's going to be in the season. But then there's one other picture of him, but that's clearly like, well, that's clearly a lot more people on set visiting John at the same time. Let's see if I can find the exact picture.
Well, while you're looking for that, I'll just kind of continue with my theory for Peacemaker season 2. But I think we'll see Lex in Argus custody, working for the government or working for Argus. The line at the end of Superman, get his bald ass to Belle Reve. So it sounds like he's definitely going to be a candidate for some Task Force X or Suicide Squad type government recruitment for Waller or Rick Flag Sr. or whoever. So that could be why he's able to build this suit. Like maybe that's something that maybe it's kind of like an all-star Superman at the beginning when Lex is working for the military designing weapons and stuff.
And it makes sense because whenever he gets access to stuff like that, he always tends to go overboard without anybody noticing. Like he's so good at that. He's so good at hiding things that he's making without people knowing, because that was very much a thing that we noticed in in All-Star Superman. Like the government's like, yeah, we hired you to make us stuff. He's like, yeah, I made a bomb to blow up somebody on the sun. They're like, you did what? The fuck are you talking about? He's like, don't worry about it. Like, I didn't say any of that out loud. And it's just really funny to me that keeps happening. Like, people keep trusting Lex Luthor, and they really should stop trusting Lex. Is really what it comes down to.
And if it is Brainiac, like, it could be something that Lex might be responsible for. Like, maybe Lex contacts Brainiac and is the reason why. I would much prefer that it's Lex's fault Brainiac comes to Earth than if they do something where, like, Brainiac is seeking out Superman. He's seeking out this final Kryptonian for some reason, and that's what brings him to Earth.
Yeah, like, because there's one thing specifically that keeps popping up that is tied to Superman in Peacemaker that keeps popping up, which is it's the fact Argus keeps mentioning we are paying attention to portal technology because the portal technology almost destroyed Metropolis. Like Lex Luthor almost destroyed the world, in fact, because he was fucking with portal technology in a way that didn't work, and especially interdimensional portal technology. So maybe the idea is that maybe Lex fucks around with it again and brings Brainiac from another dimension or from a different part of the world or the universe because he has a portal to wherever he's at. Like, there's a lot of ways you can write Lex fucking up everybody's day, but doing it that way. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time finding this email.
Well, while you're looking for that, Hunter Iggy in the live audience wants me to point out that the Snyder Bros are crying. Why is James using Zack Snyder's title for Man of Steel with, I guess, Man of Tomorrow being the sequel to James Gunn's movie when that was the title that I guess Zack Snyder
here's the thing. Here's the thing I've heard. He's never confirmed that was actually the title he was going to use, or even make another Superman movie. Because based on what I've heard about not James Gunn, based on what I've heard about Zack Snyder, is that he wasn't going to make a Superman 2 anyways. He was always like, it's going to be Man of Steel, BVS, Justice League, and Justice League 2. That was what he wrote himself. Wonder Woman was just something he helped make, but it wasn't really going to be part of anything. So, like, in his head, there was never going to be another Superman movie, which, luckily he didn't, that didn't happen. and even Man of Tomorrow, what frustrates me is a lot of the Zack Snyder people, Zack Snyder bro is a good way of putting it, is that they think that Zack Snyder came up with Man of Tomorrow. They're like, oh, yeah, he's such a genius, Man of Tomorrow. I wonder what it means. It's like, motherfucker, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, because those people, like, they don't care about the comics. They just care about the Zack Snyder version for some reason.
Well, what's funny, because it keeps happening to, like, a bunch of things, is that fans of something that borrow things from other stories as well as other, like, series, people are like, well, yeah, that thing invented that. So, like, for instance, I was on Blue Sky at one point, and somebody brought up one of the stupidest things I've ever seen, because when the show Wednesday's on currently, speaking of Superman stuff, the Wednesday is made by the people who made Smallville, and what happens? They mention trolls or something in Wednesday, and somebody's like, trolls, clearly a heritage they've stolen from Harry Potter or whatever. And they're like, no, trolls are just a thing. Like, that's not a... J.K. Rowling didn't invent trolls. And then they had a list of other things. So they're like, well, the Three Musketeers, Harry, Hermione. And I'm like, okay, this person's clearly an idiot, type of thing. But also, if they're not, they've only read only one story their entire life. Like, it's that great meme where somebody's like, person who's only seen Man of Steel watches fucking Superman the animated series and just goes, I'm getting a lot of Zack Snyder out of this story. It's like, no, what's wrong with you?
Hey, this guy can fly and he's really strong. It's just like in the Zack Snyder movie.
They clearly stole from him, even though it's Superman. The animated series predates him. I bet you they would do the same thing to him. It's what's like, yeah, Darkseid. Darkseid's the main villain in Superman the animated series. After a while, somebody who's going to be like, well, they stole that from Zack Snyder.
But if anything,
what are you talking about?
Superman the animated series is what cemented Darkseid as a Superman specific villain.
Oh, 100 billion%. The DC animated universe is the reason why Darkseid is a Superman villain now. Like prior to that, he was an everybody villain type. And even then, he was the New Gods villain.
Bruce Timm really loves Jack Kirby, and he would have loved to have done a lot of Marvel animated shows. He during the Turban funeral in Superman the animated series, when Dan Turban dies, they add in a lot of the Marvel characters created by Jack Kirby in the background at the funeral. There's a dude who looks like Reed Richards. There's a dude who looks like Nick Fury. There's a dude who looks like Matt Murdock, or maybe it's Scott Summers in in the red glasses. So
yeah, if you guys get a chance, there's a thread for it on Reddit where somebody found not only did they point out some of them, they found the concept art for the funeral. And so some of them you can see more clearly because in the show they're either cut off or they're you can only see them for 1 second. And one of them is Steve Rogers and Tony Stark. And because it's mustache Tony, because that's the reason most people don't recognize him now, because he doesn't have a goatee on. And so they have that, and they have other creators in there. It turns out Alex Ross and his dad are there, as well as Bruce Timm himself and a few other people. Stan Lee's there, that sort of thing. And it's they're such a blink and you miss it. And for a while they had edited them out of the episode for a while, but it turns out they've since re-added everybody back into it.
And the HD version on HBO Max, and I don't know, did they ever do a Blu-ray release of Superman the animated series?
They did. It was right after they started doing the HD release for it on HBO Max. You can't. They've done that for a few. There's an HD version of Lois and Clark, for instance, but there's no Blu-ray for it. You can only buy those, but you can buy them digitally in that quality.
I don't know if I want to now.
Nowadays, I don't want to. I own the originals. I own the original DVDs, and I'm like, man, this happened, and I didn't hate Dean Cain. I probably would buy those right now, and also because I don't really trust digital purchases as much. I would rather have a Blu-ray of it if I decided to do that, something like that.
Brian Allen in the live audience is saying the villain is going to be Brainiac, and he also thinks there was a deleted scene that would have been a post-credit scene to hint at Brainiac. I haven't heard about that, but I think it would make a lot of sense, especially if you're going to have Superman and Lex team up. It's probably going to have to be one of the big, extraterrestrial type guys, Brainiac, or I don't know, maybe even Mongol or Darkseid, like we were mentioning. I was thinking another cool possibility might be if they want to, slowly build up to Darkseid. Again, Superman the animated series set a lot of great examples how to do this type of stuff. But they could start off with Inner Gang. Maybe Bruno Mannheim is flooding the streets of Metropolis with some apocalypse technology. We have some Inner Gang criminals running around with these advanced weapons. Maybe that's something that would force Superman to get help from Lex. I don't know. But I think Brainiac probably is most likely. Just that is the biggest Superman villain to not be in a movie.
Yeah, it would be a shame not to make Brainiac be one of the next big villains for not just Superman, but for the DC universe in general. Because Brainiac is such a hell of a threat that you could easily make him one little giant DC villain. Because, Superman had the Justice Gang in it, so you could easily make it an entire team-up film in general, which is one of the reasons it could not be. It's possible that it might just not be another Superman 2. Maybe it is one giant team-up film, as you mentioned. That Justice League, maybe it is a Justice League International type storyline that Lex just happens to help with, or fucks with them type of thing. Maybe he's working for Brainiac just because he's maybe it's a moment like that guy from the third Star Wars movie. I'm like, look, I don't care if Brainiac wins. I just care that Superman loses type of thing. Maybe it's that type of story. Although, that's not something Lex normally would do, because Lex loves humanity too much in his twisted way.
I think the central focus will be on like the Lex and Superman team up. The JLI stuff, that was more I was just thinking before we got this announcement. That was my top theory. Either that or like a Superman and Supergirl team up, since the Supergirl movie will be out. And that's kind of cool. We get Superman this summer. The next summer we get Supergirl. The summer after that we get Man of Tomorrow. But this does allow, if it was like a big threat like Brainiac, if there were going to be additional hero characters helping out in the fight, it would make sense to also include Supergirl and maybe even Jason Momoa as Lobo. Like maybe Lobo is working for Brainiac. I don't know. Like you could do that as well.
There's so many things you could do with it when it comes to Brainiac. Actually, I would love Coco to show up. That'd be really funny. But yeah, the way things work out with how James Gunn is doing it, I could see Supergirl being part of the story, which is another reason you could make it not just be Superman 2 by itself. Because James likes the worlds to connect all the time. He's not the kind of guy who just sets up a world and then there's one guy there. Because it's the first time in a long time a movie was like, why doesn't any of the other heroes help Superman out in Metropolis type of things? Like, well, there are other heroes that help Superman out in Metropolis. Like, it answers the age-old question: how come Thor didn't help Captain America and Captain America and the Winter Soldier? How come Captain America wasn't there during Iron Man 3 or something? Like, James Gunn's like, no, I don't want you guys to be thinking that. You can be like, well, they're doing their own thing, but he clearly has help from somebody else, type of thing. Like, there are people around, and I think it would make for an interesting Brainiac story to have a bunch of people fighting and not just be the Justice League type of thing. It being the Justice Gang works out just fine. I'm more curious as to whether or not we will get more villains that aren't like the world-ending ones, like some smaller villains in the mix of it. I would like because recently it came out that James has said that the junior novel, the one that I read and we talked about, that is not really canon to anything. It's an inspired by book, which I did mention. I'm like, this is most likely just a thing that's inspired by, because nothing in it really happened in the book or in the movie, except for the fact that Clark very much is the one writing all the Superman articles. That's the only thing that really seemed to stick 100%. That and Lex Luthor's a psychopath. So he could easily make Metallo the villain in something. He could show up and fight Clark as just a quick thing or something. He doesn't even have to be. He doesn't have to be built up to be like here's his origin, here's this, here's that. James has proven that you can just have something attack and not worry about its origin. We didn't need to know how he made the kaiju. We don't need to know why it grew like it did. We don't even know why, it grew in like a day. Like, there's no real reason to know any of that stuff. But people question it all the time. But James trusts his audience to just be like, giant monster, go for it. Mystical, magical, fifth dimensional imp in the background of that scene. You don't even really get a good look at it. Just willing to accept that that's something that happens in that world. So if a guy powered by kryptonite showed up and attacked Superman, I wouldn't bat an eyelash either. But I would love to see it.
Yeah, like open the movie with Superman taking down Atomic Skull, and like the audience does not even need to know who Atomic Skull is. They'll be like, okay, this big guy with the flaming head, clearly the bad guy. Superman stopping him.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's so many things that I like that speculation for James Gunn is so much harder than it is for MCU stuff. Because MCU wise, every time it happens, we know so much ahead of time. A lot of times, it's like we casted fucking James Earl Jones Ghost as the Red Skull or something because of an AI. Like, we would know a bunch of random shit type of thing be ahead of time, and then we would know there would be a gigantic part of the story. Whereas the DC universe is just like, James is just willing to have his brother be Calendar Man in the Suicide Squad in the background type of thing. Like, whole super really important villains to many other stories, but in that story, they're just some random guy who tells somebody to go fuck themselves type of thing. Like, it's just fun. And any other version of every other MCU project, that would be a huge deal that guy's in the background of something. And I'm that's why I'm very excited to see what this movie really entails and how much it probably connects to Peacemaker, because Peacemaker has very much Argus is a huge deal now in this universe. It's it's a huge part of the United States government's like army essentially, and they're looking into threats that aren't just normal domestic stuff. It's like the interdimensional threats, and Rick Flag Sr., who was in the last movie, is now in charge of it. Like, and he doesn't have a hatred hard on for Superman. Maybe he'll be like an ally for whatever happens next. Like, I'm curious to really see, because Waller is missing. She's been missing since the end of Peacemaker season 1.
Until eventually she's going to get her show, maybe. They've been real quiet on that one for a while.
Yeah, because no one really knows what the plan was even with her before the change. But now that there is a change and everything is still canon, including her having a daughter that's in Peacemaker, I'm curious to see if any of that stuff rolls into itself. And if anything involving the current alternate reality that Peacemaker finds himself in, I'm curious to see if that ends up rolling into anything either. There could be repercussions for him fucking with living in another universe.
And I have some theories on that stuff too. I don't want to go into like too detail on Peacemaker in case people out there have not seen it yet, but one of the big things they're doing is this season is like many superhero stories of recent, they're playing with multiverse stuff. But Peacemaker finds himself in a universe that seems to be, more happy and more positive, at least for him and his family. And like one of the theories might be that this universe will eventually be revealed to be like, oh, this is actually like a very dark alt-right. The United States is just like a white nationalist, like super racist country, and that's why things are so good for his family. But
yeah, some people have an Earth X theory. It's like maybe this is Earth X type of thing.
But what if we see
the white nationalist like guy be one of the biggest superheroes on the planet normally? Like, because his dad in the normal universe is like the fucking head of a KKK basically.
What if we see the David Corenswet Superman appear in that show though, in like the dark universe?
Basically have like Overman?
Yeah, have Overman, the Nazi Superman, basically. What if that's like the final boss of the show that like Peacemaker has to go up against or something like that?
That would be wonderful, because maybe that's one of the reasons like Lex is allowed to make his shit. Like maybe they see an actual evil Superman, and it shakes Argus to its core and causes them to like be like, okay, Lex, you got our attention now. Like we'll give you some shit in case of emergency type things. And then because there's a great thing about James is that he's not subtle about some things. For instance, the dance number in the beginning of both seasons, especially because the first season we know what it means now, because the name the song being "Do You Want to Taste It" eventually was alluded to the fact that these aliens took over people by going into their mouths and taking over their bodies from men. And this one has a song where one of the lyrics is, "There's always a wrong to your right." And so it's like, yeah, there's always a different, as right as you are, there might be, like in the version that's clearly happening is that there's a wrong version of you too. Like same way there's a bad version of Superman out there. This is an evil and a quote unquote evil Peacemaker probably, or an evil version of like everyone that exists in it. And even then, like it's funny because the evil versions of some characters might just be the same person but nicer type of thing, even though the world's probably fucked up. And so I'm curious to see if that has anything to do with anything. Because there's a character who very, very much died in the Suicide Squad, who we now see who the alternate version of them is in this world. Maybe we'll have something like that. Maybe there'll be an alternate version of a Superman character who escapes that universe for all we know. Maybe Uncle Sam. The spirit of
Like
freedom
actual
is
Uncle,
there.
like the DC character Uncle Sam.
Yeah, what if maybe he's out there? Maybe him and the Freedom Fighters are there, and maybe they get out. Maybe they become more a part of the normal DC universe. We don't know. Because here's the thing about James Gunn. James Gunn is an old school DC head. That motherfucker will pull the fucking most obscure goddamn thing in his life and throw it at you and be like, "You're welcome."
And I also think he pays attention to a lot of the new stuff too. Like he could pull in some of the newer comics ideas. Like like he wants to do Damian Wayne whenever they eventually make their DCU Batman movie, which there's another thing they haven't talked about much lately.
Yeah, it seems like he wants to. We don't even know. We don't know if it means that the other three Robins existed. We don't know if maybe he's fast forwarding to the point where maybe Tim might be ahead of the Teen Titans, because I know there's some rumors of him doing the Teen Titans as well. Maybe Jason Todd is around as Red Hood. Maybe the Nightwing's already a thing. Like
Yeah.
we don't 100% know. We just know that Superman is the first really strong is the strongest meta-human, or the strongest super powered being on the planet. That's the only thing we know about the other heroes when it comes to power scaling.
Yeah, there is no one else like super strong on the Hall of Justice mural in there. There's guys like like Ted Grant Wildcat and the Silent Knight and people, but no one who's like anywhere close to Superman's power level.
Yeah, it's interesting because we don't know if Batman maybe has been around this whole time, but we know Gotham exists because Gotham's been mentioned by a lot of people, including in Peacemaker. It's mentioned multiple times by another character, because they're like, "We're going to move to Gotham," and you're like, "I don't think you should do that."
And we're gonna see Gotham next year in the DCU movie Clayface.
Yeah, and then we don't know how much of Creature Commandos ties into that, because Clayface was in the Creature Commandos episodes. So he was part of the Creature Commandos before people ask.
But it could be two different Clayfaces, because in the comics there's been two different characters named Clayface.
Yes, that's true. And James Gunn is the type of person who would know that.
Yeah.
Which is why it's like that much more, because everybody else would just be like, no, that's the same guy, but he's like a mixture of everybody. Because we know that still happens, because Hot Girl's like that. Hot Girl is supposed to be kind of a mixture of a lot of the Hot Girls together, because she is Kendra Saunders, but she might have some stuff in her that's Shi'ar related type of thing.
Yeah, I can see that. Although
we don't really know.
I do hope that we get all the Robins. Like I want Dick, Jason, Tim, Damian. I want all of them to coexist.
Yeah, Tim has been too ignored for too long. The reason I say that is because too many non-comic book readers like to say like Tim isn't a big deal, not understanding their favorite versions of Robin are all Tim Drake coded.
Mm-hmm.
Like none of them use the bow staff as a weapon until Tim Drake used one. And also a lot of them didn't wear pants.
Yeah, none of them had pants until Neil Adams, at the request of Denny O'Neil, redesigned Robin to look less ridiculous for the 90s. And yeah, we got the Tim Drake design that everyone loves.
And Tim Drake's design has been used in everything.
Yeah, Beat has used it for Dick Grayson.
Yeah, and so the Teen Titans show used a lot of his stuff for Dick Grayson, including the way he fights, the way he acts, the way he has his fucking bow staff. Like Tim Drake there's a reason why Tim Drake is the only Robin who had his own title,
his own book. Yeah,
like Dick Grayson got his own title, but that's because he became Nightwing. Like Damian got his own title eventually, but that's more because it's because they decided Damian should have his own storyline, and even that didn't last nearly as long as what Tim Drake got. And Tim Drake had to be written out of stories because people were like, Tim Drake is OP. Tim Drake will figure this shit out before anyone else does. Like, he got kidnapped by Dr. Oz, and Dr. Oz, he's like, why did you kidnap me? He's like, because you're too smart. You're going to fuck this up for everyone.
Speaking of Dr. Oz, I'm glad you brought that up.
Or Mr. Oz, sorry, not Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz is a real person.
Mr. Oz.
Although the idea of Dr. Oz kidnapping Tim Drake is way funnier.
But you're talking about the Jor-El and the Bendis comics.
Yes, the Jor-El
So
stuff that was going on. It
something
wasn't just Bendis though, because that was stuff in the middle of Rebirth too.
Sure. But something that I would want James Gunn to draw from the newer comics that I think would be really fascinating to see is I would love in the DCU if Jor-El is still alive, if he's in like the Bottle City of Kandor on Brainiac's ship or something like that, because I would love for that Bradley Cooper Jor-El that we get that glimpse of in the first movie to show up in a sequel or something and realize like, oh wow, I had no idea my son, I thought like the best thing for you would be like if you went off and became like a conqueror on the simple planet with simple people, but I now see the error of my ways. Like you're actually like this great beacon of hope, you're a hero, you're an inspiration, you're so much more than I could have even conceived to hope for. Like I would love to see that realization for and didn't the Superman 78 continuation comics, didn't they do something like that with Marlon Brando's Jor-El still being alive?
Yeah, they decided that both of his parents were just living on Kandor. And instead of them having died, that Brainiac had, just before the planet exploded, that Brainiac stole where they were, and then it exploded. And so which was an interesting thing to do, even in that storyline when it happens, because most of the time those versions of it might sometimes have Kara's parents living on Kandor.
Brian Allen in the live audience though is bringing up that Brainiac story that was meant to be a continuation of the Christopher Reeve movies could easily kind of work here. Like I don't know. I think that'd be like another good reason to use Brainiac if you tried to like bring in Jor-El or Jor-El and Lara like that. But what would you think about that? If is that blasphemous to have Jor-El survive the end of Krypton, or would you be okay with that?
It's not blasphemous, but it would have to be done well. Is my problem with it. It's the reason why even when it happened in that comic, I was very like, I'm not 100% okay with this type of thing, especially because in the Superman 78 universe, it's very poignant that Jor-El is just a series of recordings that like he's like a chat GPT bot where it just says what you'll kind of want to hear. Like I thought it was more interesting, like the idea that like even when he has his father, quote unquote, it's not really having his father, which is the reason I thought that, which is why the Christopher Reeve version. That doesn't make any sense. The Richard Donner version of Superman 2 is much more depressing because of the fact that he loses the crystals to his father when the fortress breaks, when it gives him back his power. And so it turning out he's alive anyways just kind of takes away from that. You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah.
But that's the reason why it has to be done well, because it can be done. Don't get me wrong. In fact, you remember in Smallville, there's an episode where they're like, Jor-El's, I guess, alive or whatever. And he's here in Smallville. Like, sure, I guess. Like, it wasn't like a time travel episode either. I think he just was there. I don't even remember what happened to him because it was so long ago. But that happens. It's not unheard of.
Oh, I guess I don't remember. I remember the flashback where it was like Tom Welling playing Jor-El like on Krypton in the 50s.
Yeah, this is like a much later... In fact, the reason I remembered it was because the guy who played Jor-El died. He died in like a hiking accident or something. And people were like, yeah, he played Jor-El in Smallville. I'm like, what are you talking about? Terrence Stamp played Jor-El in Smallville and as the AI. And then like, no, you remember there's the episode where Jor-El somehow has a body or some shit. And he's like, I'm proud of my son or whatever. And I'm like, I don't remember any of this because it's like a later season thing. Like a much later season.
Okay, yeah.
So
for some reason,
most people don't remember.
I
can look it up
either.
later when I get a chance. But it happens again. It's not unheard of Jor-El, even if he showed up for like a moment or two. Like I think if you make Jor-El alive, it's less. I find it less interesting, not because of the fact that Jor-El's alive, but I feel like that Lara is always fucked over whenever stuff happens when it comes to Jor-El, because especially with AI stuff, the AI person, because Superman 78, he's just like, I'm gonna put a thing with all of our knowledge in it, and it's gonna be narrated by me and only me. And Lara, you're not gonna be a part of any of this type of thing. And the only reason you're gonna be a part of any of it is because they don't want to pay me any money to be part of it anymore.
Yeah.
And then in Man of Steel, he's like, well, Lara, I made sure that he has an AI that's just my brain waves, so he's never alone. He's like, well, did you make anything for me? He's like, I don't have time for that shit. Like Laura's always given the shit end of the stick whenever it comes to like giving Clark anything to like look back on. Except for Superman the Animated Series. They were nice enough to make sure she was in the message that talks to Clark.
Joel in the live audience looked it up for us. It was Julian Sands was the Jor-El actor, and I googled a picture of him as Jor-El, and it's like, okay, I'm sure I saw. Okay, it's in seasons 9 and 10.
Exactly.
For whatever reason, I had no
They're
memory
the seasons
of that.
you tend to forget because they that's the later stuff. So it's the stuff most people don't rewatch.
They're the episodes I haven't seen since 2010 because I've never rewatched them.
Yeah, and he was very good in it. I remember him being very, very good in it.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, so if Jor-El shows up, I want Lara to be part of it. You know what I mean? Because I'm tired of Jor-El always being the one that's the thing that talks to Clark. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Yeah, and I was almost like doing some Lara erasure there when I was more talking about pointing out the potential of Jor-El returning. But yeah, I would like to see both of them. I would like to see him have like a moment with his birth parents, and then I don't know, maybe lose them again, or because it would be weird if he got to like keep them after the movie. But
it was always the weirdest part about that storyline, that because I like the Superman continuation comic much more than the Batman one, because it seems to understand its world better. I feel because the Batman '89 one just doesn't work for me. You know, like I've read both of them multiple times to be like, maybe I'll like it better this time. I'm like, no, it doesn't work for me. And whereas I've read Superman 78, both the first one and the second one that come out, a lot, because they're both great continuations of that storyline in a way that makes you like just happy about it, and it doesn't feel like they're just aping on it the way Superman Returns does, type of thing.
But I guess the other thing I wanted to bring up that I think would make it a real interesting movie, assuming that it is going to be a Superman and Lex team up, is this is something that I thought a lot about going in to see Thor: The Dark World, which wasn't the best Marvel movie, but the interesting thing to me about that movie going to see it was that, like, okay, I know that at some point in this movie Loki is gonna fuck over Thor and try to betray him, but I guess what made me real curious about seeing it was that, like, I wanted to, kind of be on the edge of my seat, like waiting, like, is it going to be now? Is it going to be now? Is he going to betray him now? And that movie didn't quite deliver the riveting experience I wanted from that kind of drama. But I do think that the way that James Gunn writes, like, interpersonal conflicts, and like, I'm sure there's going to be like a ton of just like great banter between the two of them, both like, arguing their philosophies and worldviews, but also just like giving each other so much shit and just like insulting each other. I can picture this movie being so fucking good.
There's one thing I could picture if it turns out to be a Brainiac story, which is that it's very similar in the fact that Thor: The Dark World's a great example of this, of how great just Loki and Thor's banter was as they're fighting for their lives. To get somewhere themselves, even though they're still superpowered at that point, but they're still against very superpowered things. But if it's a Brainiac story, what I can see in my head is maybe they both get captured by Brainiac, and Clark's powers are just negated in a normal way, not like a kryptonite way that causes him to be dying,
like a Red Sun type,
a Red Sun situation, maybe even like a gravity situation or something related to the fact that, like, hey, you aren't superpowered anymore. I can picture Lex and Superman working together, navigating through a ship, trying to get out, or maybe even change something to get Superman his powers back. and Lex has to reluctantly help him because he's like, look, I don't have, maybe he doesn't have a suit of armor or whatever. He's like, I'm just as vulnerable as you are. If I don't get you powered up, we might both be fucked here, type of thing. And I think that would be a fun thing too, if it turned out to be, you know, a Brainiac story, or even just a villain that they both have to fight in general. Like I can't think of many that wouldn't just be Brainiac or sort of thing, or maybe in Mongol or something like that. But I could see the two of them working together in a capacity that wasn't just, you know, I'm the strong one here and I'm the smart one here. I can see it being like, I'm the cunning one here and you're the smart one, type of thing. Because as cunning as Lex can be, he's not street smart. And Lex has probably never been in an actual, this version of Lex at least, has never been in an actual fight in his life, type of thing. That's how I felt about that version of Lex.
Yeah.
Because as much as he's like, well, I got all these fighting moves, I'm like, yeah, that seems more of an analytical thing than it does of him being like, well, I know how to fight. It's like, no, I know if you kick a guy in the balls hard enough, he'll feel it. So I'm gonna make that one of my things. Like, not so much as I know how to do that.
But I did appreciate the first movie doing a good job of not really like romanticizing Lex. Like, no, like the evil billionaire is a very bad guy. He's a bad guy that we should all dislike and no one should want to emulate. So I do wonder if this movie will kind of redeem him, because I'm not sure if I would want that. It would kind of undercut the presentation of Lex in the first movie.
Well, the easy way of doing that is have him still be like there helping, but at the end of the day, he's like, oh, by the way, when this whole thing's over, I will fuck up you and everything you love, type of thing.
Yeah, have him still be a bastard at the end. Like
give there's no moment where he's like, it's not going to end like an episode of fucking The Brave and the Bold where they both shake their hands and going, you know what, Lex, you're not such a bad guy. And he's like, high five. And they both high five each other and be like, see you next Saturday or some shit. It's gonna end the way like Justice League would or something, where he's like, look, you know, I'm gonna help you, but once this is done, it's kill on sight. You understand that, right? Like, I'm giving you this is the you helped me, I helped you, or even situation. But the next time I see you, you know, fucking watch yourself, type of thing. Like, that's what you should do with that idea. Like, there's no redeeming him, but you now understand. Like, you can understand him as a person, but that doesn't mean he's like a good person. You know what I mean? Like, that's what you should do with that part of the story. If that makes sense.
I was just thinking the Jeff Johns General Zod story with Christopher Kent, Last Son, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great example of that exact thing.
Because Lex has to team up. Yeah, he brings in the Superman Revenge Squad, but they're like working with Superman against the other Kryptonians. And at the end of that story, he's back in prison at Stryker's. But he's saying to himself, well, you know, at least I saved the world. At least everyone knows that Lex Luthor saved Earth from the Kryptonians. And then he picks up the newspaper. He picks up a copy of the Daily Planet, and the headline is something like, "World grateful to be saved by Superman yet again," or something like that.
No, it's because Chris Kent sacrifices himself to close the portal, because the portal will only close if everybody who was in the zone goes back, including Chris himself, because Chris is the reason they got out. So I don't remember if Lois or Clark writes the story, but it's like, world grateful for the sacrifice done by the young Kryptonian.
Is that what it was? Okay.
Like something like that, because technically that's exactly what happened. That is, not even technically, that is exactly what happened. The world was saved because Chris sacrificed himself to close the portal, because Lex helped save the day, but he didn't save the day.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons Lex was fine with helping Clark was he's like, I'm not helping you save the world. You're helping me save the world. And when this is done, everyone's going to know that I did this. You're gonna look like the asshole you are for letting this happen. And I will be the fucking hero of this story. And to Lex's credit, he almost was. But the thing is that Lex did what Lex is going to do. Betray everyone. He was going to save the world, but he was going to do it in a way where Superman gets trapped in the Phantom Zone. and then the world's saved by Lex. Now there's no fucking Superman anymore, or any Kryptonians for that matter, because he would have been sucked in there with them. Like Lex will save you, but he'll stab you right afterwards. Like that's the idea. That's the version of Lex that should be done by the time the story is done. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of want to see like a kind of an ending like that where maybe he's like he wants to get all the credit and then he's mad that in his mind someone else stole his thunder. But
yeah, I would love that. Like just have the ending be like the world saved by Guy Gardner and the Justice Gang, like and no one else. Like not even Superman's mentioned. That would be way funnier, in my opinion. I want Lex Luthor to fucking punch Superman and him feel it. I want to see it. I want to see that power armor work. I want to see that. I want to see that fight make sense, and I want it to be fucking rad.
Yeah, I hope there's like a lot of like badass work going into like storyboarding one of the most epic superhero fights ever right now for the
because we know the Raptor suits aren't very effective against Superman. He took out an entire army of them, and he wasn't even 100% yet during that because he had just got his ass beat by Ultraman again just before that Raptor sequence happens. Like his eyes got fucking heat vision before he beats all those guys up. Like I want to see what Lex can pull off given the chance to do it, because a lot of these images, a lot of the armor is glowing green, so maybe there's some kryptonite stuff.
Oh, it might be kryptonite.
Yeah,
it's also interesting that all three artists drew the suit a little different. They all kind of had like their own version of it. So whatever the final design is, they're probably still working on that. But I think it'll be
the closest to the classic kind of design.
Which one did you like the most, by the way? I actually
like
like
armors.
Of all the different announcement art pieces we got.
Of the pieces overall, it's honestly the Jim Lee one.
Same.
As much as I love George Jimenez a lot, his Superman is very much the same. And I don't mean that as a bad thing, because his Superman's one of my favorite Supermans. But Jim Lee's invokes the actual tone of how David Corenswet is in the movie. And it reminds me more of him when I look at it. And the Lex is not too old, but not too young either, so that also works. And I love the classic power armor look. I love it a lot more than the modernized version that George Jimenez has. And then Mitch Gerard's... The problem with Mitch Gerard's is that both of them look too old. And the armor's a bit too bulky in the last one, in my opinion.
But Jim Lee he's probably my least favorite artist of the three of them. But he can draw the hell out of like a good cover or a good splash page. And yeah, this was definitely in his wheelhouse of just like, hey, just draw this character looking cool. And he knows how to do that.
It's perfect for that. If Jim Lee drew an entire comic, because Jim Lee is a hit or miss for me. For instance, every time he draws Absolute Superman, it doesn't work because his Absolute Superman looks too big compared to what Absolute Superman normally looks like. And then he'll draw something like this, and it looks fantastic. But then he'll draw something that you're just like, that doesn't look right at all. But that happens to a lot of artists. And in this case, Jim Lee is legitimately the superior one of the three in this announcement pictures. George Jimenez in a very close second. And then Mr. Rod's in not a far last, but it just didn't do it for me the way the other ones did.
But Jim Lee's also has Superman holding a screwdriver, so that might suggest that maybe there's some Kryptonian tech. Oh well, no, I take that back. I'm looking at it now, and I noticed there's some screws under Lex's feet. So this cheeky Superman has a smirk on his face because I guess he just like loosened some of Lex's screws without Lex noticing. So
yeah, it makes me wonder.
I
if
like that.
There's a part of it that if you zoom in on it, maybe there's something you see, but I can't really see anything at the moment. But yeah, that's definitely something he definitely did. He probably got cheeky about it and made a little fuck up here and there on the armor. And what's great about the George Jimenez one is the George Jimenez one looks like an actual like team up one.
Yeah.
Whereas the other one seems more like it looks like them. It looks more like a behind the scenes type scene. You know what I mean? Than it is like them hanging out. And then the last one is just them fighting to the death.
Yeah. But if they are teamed up in this movie, that is the rule of superhero team ups, is that before you team up, you have to fight it out a little bit first.
I
So
also never noticed that the Mystery Rods actually shows like the spot where Clark hits the armor. I
yeah,
didn't
up on
notice that until right now. It's just this
the
little
shoulder.
piece here that has like the action smack on it. But and again, yeah, it's just for some reason his doesn't work the same way for me. I also think it's because of the fact that I think he just draws Superman in a more classic look than what they're trying to actually invoke for what David Corenswet looks like, at least in real life. That's the reason it's the reason the Jim Lee one works better for me.
Yeah, like Jim Lee is the guy who famously put all the lines on all the DC superhero suits anyways with the New 52 Justice League. So yeah, he knows how to draw the New 52 lines on the David Corenswet Superman.
He knows it better than anyone. I will never forgive him for the stupid lines on people that didn't need lines. Like, why does the Flash need a bunch of lines on him? He doesn't need those lines. Neither did Batman. Superman's, at least you can make the argument it was a suit of armor.
It was a different suit. Yeah, there was like a story reason for this Kryptonian suit. So,
But the Flash didn't need to be covered in lines. That didn't make any sense.
but
I'm glad the New 52 died.
yeah, good riddance. But we're eating good with DC lately. Their first DCU movie, amazing. Creature Commandos and Peacemaker, both amazing. You just mentioned Absolute Superman, which was they've done some really great stuff in the comics this year.
Yeah, all the Absolute stuff's really good. They brought Superboy Prime back for Superman. So that's a little fun to see that guy talking in the fourth wall again.
He's a great villain. I know there's a lot of Superboy Prime haters out there, but I think he's fantastic. I love when he shows up.
He's one of my favorites, and we still know that My Adventures of Superman season 3 is still in the works. We know that they're finally doing all the recording and stuff. That's the last we've heard of it. There's some rumors that this one was a take a grain with the salt. I saw it on Reddit. Was that somebody had quote unquote found the episode titles for the My Adventures Green Lantern one that got announced not that long ago, and so that one could be on the horizon as well. That's another thing we don't know too much about. They've been very coy about the other animated shows that aren't just straight up the DC one, connected to the DC movie ones. So I'm curious to see what happens with all those.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, I think I froze for a second, but I'm back now. But I think that's everything. All of my thoughts and ideas for Man of Tomorrow. Just really excited, really looking forward to anticipating this movie for the next 2 years, and then finally seeing it.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I'm curious to see how much of our stuff could maybe be possible. Again, we don't know how Peacemaker season 2 is going to end because again, maybe the things that attach to it won't happen to the ending because we know they retconned the ending of season 1. Instead of it being the Justice League, it's now the Justice Gang. So we know that Supergirl helps out with the Justice Gang. So maybe that's a clear indication of part of what's going to happen. Argus is very much Argus is up front, being like, "Hey, after what happened with Lex Luthor, we are keeping an eye on things that are related to interdimensional travel, as well as just dimensional portals in general." So it's possible, again, the multiverse might play another huge part, or maybe just the idea of portals in general plays a huge part. And I'm curious to see if Argus continues to be a huge part of even Man of Tomorrow, because Argus was mentioned in Superman, not for a while, not as often, but it's mentioned. So I'm curious to see if all that stuff becomes into play later, and even Peacemaker somehow ends up becoming more than just a cameo.
Well, when Peacemaker season 2 wraps, maybe we should do like a a show just talking about season 2 of Peacemaker and how we felt about it and how we think it might tie into the DCU stuff going forward.
No, that'd be a good idea. It's depending on what happens, really, in my opinion. But based on what James Gunn
Superman
saying,
connections, yeah, there's going to be something in there before the end of the season. So
I appreciate that they've mentioned that Superman happened. Like they mentioned everything that happened, and also the fact that a lot of the stuff that happened, a lot of the characters from the last season did happen. Like Judo Master is a thing in the DC universe now. Vigilante's still around. Peacemaker's still around. And who knows? Maybe the stuff that Peacemaker mentioned in the last season still exists. We know Kite Man is around. We know that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Because of Peacemaker. And he shows up. He apparently was in the other universe at one point. But does that mean Matter Eater Lad ate a Wendy's one time? Who knows?
If you check out the Peacemaker official podcast, which I haven't listened to yet, but apparently James Gunn goes through season 1 and he points out the things that are canon and the things that aren't. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so like the Aquaman joke about, Aquaman likes to fuck fish, that obviously is now like Green Lantern is into puke. So, that's not in there. There's, I think, one or two others I think he said Batmite. Batmite is not a known thing yet in the DCU.
That makes me sad, but I want him to be a thing. But yeah. I want the story that Matter Eater Lad at a Wendy's to still be a thing.
Yeah, let's bring in the Legion. Let's get some the Legion coming back in time. I'd be down for that.
100%.
But if that's all we got, we can go ahead and wrap up. I just want to remind people that we were going to discuss the first half of the comic Kingdom Come, and we'll just have to push that off to next time because this was too big of news not to talk about. So
it was kind of an emergency thing. We originally thought about not doing it at all, but then we were like, you know what? Wild speculation is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'm glad we did. I'm after just talking about it with you for over an hour, I'm even more excited for this movie than I was before. So looking forward to that. But people should come back next time. Go brush up on Kingdom Come. Read the first 2 issues. We'll be talking about that. One of the inspirations for the recent movie, and we have looks like plenty of other Superman stuff to talk about beyond Kingdom Come, but maybe eventually we'll sprinkle in some Peacemaker season 2. I still want to cover the first story arc of Absolute Superman, which the trade for that just came out a couple weeks ago, so people can pick that up in stores now.
Yeah, the current stuff is really good as well, and if you guys haven't got a chance, please read all the other Absolute comics. They're all pretty good. The Batman one's the only one I'm iffy on, to be honest.
It took me a while, but it grew on me. I'm really I'm behind on it, but the
too edgelord for me, if that makes sense.
That was my criticism at first.
Because it keeps going back and forth. That's the thing. Sometimes I like it, and sometimes I'm like, I think you might be doing a little too much here. And then I come back around on it every now and then, because when they revealed Bane, I was like, okay, guys. I was like, this is a bit much.
The last issue I read was the one that ends with "Get me Bane." So
when you see Bane, you'll know exactly what I mean. So
Wonder Woman is my second favorite of all of them.
Wonder Woman is so good. I actually go back and forth on if it's my favorite or the Superman one.
I've had the same thing, but then the Superman, every time I think the Wonder Woman one is better, then the Superman one will do something really cool. But yeah, Wonder Woman, especially if you're a metalhead like me, it is the most heavy metal depiction of a mainstream DC superhero comic I've ever seen.
And it doesn't push it too. When it pushes it, you never feel like it changes who Wonder Woman is as a person, which is the reason why it works. Well, it's the reason why the Superman one works too, because it also feels like a lot of them still end up in a very hopeful place. The current Superman one is playing with that idea too, actually. The current Absolute Superman arc is playing with the idea of how far is Clark willing to still be a good guy, if that makes sense. And so I'm curious to see how that finishes playing out. But that's why I enjoy it, because it's because in any other comic you would be like, well, of course Superman's gonna make it and still be the shining star. You're like, the Absolute Universe, it's anybody's fucking game in the Absolute Universe. This is not, the rules are not the same, because it's not even like the New 52, because that was the issue with the New 52, because the New 52 wasn't willing to go far enough to be different. it just decided to be like, well, Batman and Green Lantern are the same, and the other guys, they just can't be with their normal love interests. You're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't change anything. That's just you being weird about it.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Dan DiDio not wanting superheroes to be in happy romantic relationships.
Exactly. Like Lois couldn't be with Superman, and Superman couldn't be with Lois. Wonder Woman couldn't be with Steve. Bruce was just fucking around, really.
I think he was like going through a divorce. He didn't want anyone else to be happily married if he couldn't be.
And he hated Wally. He's like, Wally doesn't exist. Now we have a different Wally, and we have no indication of whether or not it's supposed to be our normal Wally or not Wally. Who the fuck knows? That was the whole thing. I'm glad they both still exist. I'm glad that, because people call him Ace now. I think they call him Ace now, if I remember correctly. Yeah, because his name is Wallace, so they call him Ace.
Okay, that's where it came from. Because for a while it was Wallace West and Wally West, and then I wasn't sure why the change to Ace.
Yeah, people decide to call him Ace from now on because it's
Ace and Wally. Yeah,
to like separate the two that way. But even then, I feel like Ace isn't used enough. They tried for a little bit, but then one day people just forgot he existed. So, but every now and then he comes back up in something. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping he comes back around again because he's one of. I did really legitimately like him quite a bit. I just felt that the New 52 and Rebirth, once that stuff sort of started breaking apart, a lot of the New 52 stuff disappeared. Like I think honestly, if you had to put a graph up and it'd be like what survived the New 52, I think it's like 3 things, and that's like it. And the only ones I can think of involve Green Arrow and the Flash, and that's it.
And Jason Todd, I think he's still the Lazarus Pit is what brought him back. Not the
that was
Superman
before
punch,
the New 52 though. So
yeah.
I actually you were just reminding me. The other thing that stuck around was that Red Hood and Speedy have a good relationship because they didn't have one prior to the New 52.
Oh yeah, okay.
So they weren't tight until the New 52 happened.
Nice. Okay, so that was one of the good things though. I liked that. So
that Amiko, I really like Amiko. She's still around, and I really like Ace. Those are the 3 things I can think of off the top of my head that survived the New 52. Not a goddamn thing survived Superman. Not a single thing, except for the suit for like 5 seconds. Because you remember that issue of Superman Reborn, where it has the flashback to like, because he's like, let me see what my history is, because now that I'm back together as one person, it cuts to him finding out that Lois is pregnant. And he's wearing the New 52 Superman outfit, and that's it. It's the only time I've ever seen him wear it.
But if they drew that now, they would just have him in the normal suit with the trunks. They would just ignore that.
Because it cut back to him wearing his he was wearing that my second favorite Superman suit, which is the Rebirth one after Reborn, because I think that's the perfect meld of doing the no trunks while still looking like a classic outfit.
Yeah, I liked it at the time, but when I look at those issues now, it's like, I really wish they just had the trunks on these.
Oh, don't get me wrong, nothing beats the trunks.
Yeah.
But if I had to live in a world where the trunks were the thing,
that would be the best one to go with.
That's the outfit I would want.
I agree.
So yeah.
Well, people should let us know your ideal Superman look. What's your favorite suit? But also come back next time. We'll be talking about Kingdom Come. And until then, as always, keep it super, y'all.